evening, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside, because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. What's happening, my paranormal junkies? Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, and I'm your host, comedy magician Danny Whitson. We have got a great podcast for you guys tonight. I tell you what, so many exciting things have been happening in the paranormal world this week. I do want to give a quick shout out to our very own Dawn Marie Patterson. She has a very interesting article right now that you can go check out at the experiencersupport.org, the website, about witches, wizards, and the church. So definitely a really cool article to go check out there on the website. Also, our very own Ryan Stacy has released the latest UFO report, which I believe it has something to do with Porter Airlines seeing 3 objects flying in the sky. So definitely go to the experiencersupport.org. Check out the news there. Really exciting stuff. Speaking of exciting stuff, our guest tonight, okay? This guy, not only is he a comedian, not only is he a wrestler, not only is he a filmmaker, but he's a paranormal investigator of his very own paranormal TV show on Sci TV called Wrestling with Ghosts. So let's welcome the very own Vinnie Vineyard.
How long have we been friends?
I don't know, too long. Too long, I think so. Too long.
When you going to pronounce my last name correctly, or is that a stylistic thing?
Dude, it's a host thing. You're supposed to roll with it. Okay?
Baby, how you doing?
I've been Danny Watson. I've been Danny Winston. But the worst ever is whenever the MC brought me up as Danny Whitewash.
That's better than Danny Backwash.
Danny Backwash. Yeah, well, I wanted the backwash. I had to go up on stage, Danny Whitewash. I moved down south and wrestle under Funkmaster V. My name's Vinnie Vineyard. It's not genius. It's just the easiest way to do it. You would be shocked in this East Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia how many Sicilian Italians, these people who are loyal to the Roman Empire down here, would call me Funkmaster 5, like that was a Roman numeral. It was just like, really? When's the last time you saw a Roman numeral? The Super Bowl? You're going to call me Funkmaster 5? But actually, I always would get angry because Funkmaster 5 is actually a better wrestling name than V because it makes me sound like a robot. But anyway, I like Funkmaster. Well, here's the thing. Also, your list, you so many damn things. I'm glad. I was like, I got to remember, he's also a chiropractor, maybe a gynecologist. I don't know. I was hoping I would nail all these things. Okay, yeah. Credits. But I think I did good enough because at least I hit the important spots. Okay, so, but let's do this because there's so much to talk about with you there, Vinny. And yes, you are a dear friend of mine, folks. I've had the pleasure of knowing this guy for a while. I've been in his movies. His movies are fantastic, by the way. I'm not just saying that because I'm in the movies, but he's made some really great comedy horror movies. So, and we'll talk about those. We'll give those a quick plug. But let's do this. Tell the audience who the hell Vinny is. Let them know who you are.
Good God. That's going to take a while. So,
A gypsy woman told my mother the day I was born, she said, "You got a boy child coming. He's going to be a son of a gun. He's going to make the pretty women's jump and shout, and the whole world's going to know what it's all about." And it's about the funk, baby. So, pro wrestler, comedian. I was in radio for a long time. I love that. Wish I could get back into it, but radio's kind of dead. Podcasts are where it's at. I've been a long time podcast fool as well. I run the largest Atari 7800 website on the planet. I was a professional bass player for 9 years and toured the country in a funk and hip hop band. And I guess what most of these people are interested in is I've been fortunate enough to be a ghost hunter on a mildly successful TV show called Wrestling with Ghosts, which is on very small television stations throughout the United States. And some of the funnest moments of my life have been with my gang of knuckleheads as we go somewhere crazy and then abandon or whatever, and use our philosophies to garner a lot of experience. And then after that, I'm an actor, and also we're making films. And sometimes these films are influenced by the paranormal investigations and the adventures that we have.
Okay, like me and you, we talk all the time about, some of the experiences because, some of my personal experiences I've had. I know some of the personal experiences you've had. And you've seen so much, especially on this TV show, Wrestling with Ghosts, a lot of crazy, cool experiences. Just recently, you guys were at the old Scott County Jail in, I'm not sure what town in Tennessee it's in.
Scott County?
Scott County. We're just going to say Scott County. It's a cool little small town, folks. I think Rugby, right? Maybe Rugby, Tennessee.
That's not right. I can't remember it, but I don't know what it is. It's near Oneida.
Okay. Oneida, yeah. Like you'll never go to Oneida. But if you do, this is a really cool place to go investigate. I had the honors of going there once. And did you guys, did TV show go there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I mean, just my experience alone, whenever we went, I had an experience, paranormal experience inside one of the cells. Nothing was really happening that night until me and the other girl, we were in the cell, and she had all the gadgets and everything going on. And I swear to God, something started moving in that cell with us, and I got the hell out of there. But I tell you what, let's start off with that. Because I mean, I know you guys had some really cool stuff happen there.
Well, to predicate that a little bit, I'm excited because we're going to start every month releasing a Wrestling with Ghost episode on the Big and Funky Productions YouTube page, and we're starting it in January. And tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to release a brand new episode that's been retooled and remastered, and nobody has seen it like this, and very few people have seen it before. And so tomorrow night, you can start watching our process, because we are a little different. Like this investigation, I was wearing a mink coat just to tell you that we are unique in a certain way. We use humor, levity, jocularity, whatever you want to call it, to elicit paranormal activity. We're blessed to be around beautiful women, and we try to exploit that. Sometimes we have knucklehead weirdos with us, like furries and drag queens and whatever else we can get our hands on.
Furries, we love both of those people, by the way.
Some of the best times of my life have been in between a furry and a drag queen. But so we have a process called that we call the charge, and that's because we can't think of anything better than that. But basically, the philosophy in short is, and when we started this was totally alien, and now it's starting to become more accepted, and people kind of, when I say we have a process, people go, "Oh, well, we do that too." But back when we started, everybody was super serious when it came to ghost hunts. which I can't understand because we don't know what we're doing, and it's just fun and it's great to be with your friends. But our process basically is joke with the dudes, flirt with the girls, and tease the kids. And when you go in with that kind of idea, we get insane evidence, because instead of something like, ooh, an EMF detector went boop, 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 we get people saying, can we swear on this? Well, I'm not going to say it. But anyway, we have people saying all sorts of jive to us. But so, and really unique stuff. And so to tell you what, I always say I'm high touch, I'm not high tech. And so we don't have a lot of the meters and stuff. And the reason, and if you have those things, God bless you, and go buy them and enjoy them and give them to each other as stocking stuffers, whatever you want to do. I don't like it because I feel like when we go do a ghost hunt, I'm trying to create a scientific record of paranormal activity, even though we're a bunch of butt nuts. I'm wearing sunglasses right now, Danny. Doesn't have any lenses in them. I mean, that just tells you what kind of people we are. All right. So
neither do I. No.
Hey, we're both idiots, but we're serious about what we're doing. We're just using humor because that's our personalities, and we want to have a good time. And I feel like if these are dead people, which I still don't know what ghosts are, I just know that there are things out there that exist that aren't that are paranormal. But if these are dead people, which they may or may not be, they're probably wanting to have fun. If we're walking into their wherever they are at 3 a.m. So the historic Scott County Jail, and this was not my idea. This is my tag team partner, Big Luke, who is 7 feet tall. He brought a remote control fart machine in to test paranormal activity in the historic Scott County Jail. And we got at the end of the investigation, after it was a pretty serious night, and there was a lot of unique stuff, especially with the girls. When you bring girls into jail cells, that normally happens. But the night ended with disembodied farts. So, and nobody was over in the cells where they were. So it wasn't like a ventriloquist act or it was pretty wild. So they didn't use the machine per se, but they at least disembodied flatulence, which I say is a win-win.
Well, hey, I know about those flatulence on a ghost hunt, so I highly recommend that. If you've never done it, you need to do it. It's a great experience. But I don't know, man. Are they dead people? That's a big question. Something that I've thought about a lot. I thought, first of all, what kind of big ass bummer would it be that we live our whole life and then we die and then we got to hang around some trailer? God, I mean, think about it. Like, what if you're stuck wherever you croak at? How bad would that suck?
I don't think that's true, because we actually, even though, like I said, we just used a fart machine on our last episode, and I've pissed on a Wendigo. I mean, you go down the list. We've done a lot of insane things. Even though we're pretty silly, we do have a lot of we talk, right? And we sit there and go, and we try to actually scientifically go through this stuff. I mean, we're not Mensa people or anything, but we have pretty high IQs, and we're not just a bunch of goofballs. And so we sit there and we go, well, if these things are dead, one of the best investigations we ever did, and this will be released this year, we went to Valmar's Park, which is kind of like a very tiny amusement park that was in between Bowling Green, Ohio, and Toledo, Ohio. And it was abandoned. And so our idea there was, let's go and see if these ghosts are dead people, if they show up at a place that they enjoyed. Because people in northeast or northwest Ohio, I guess it's under Detroit, wherever that is, they loved Valmar's Park. It looked kind of chintzy from where I'm not going to sit there and criticize them, but we had evidence of people who were having a good time. And I think that gives me hope that if these are dead people that we're talking to, which again, I don't know, but if we're talking to dead people, I would want to go somewhere that I enjoyed my life, like an amusement park with my family, instead of sitting around the mental institution I was stuck at.
Well, okay, the two ways of thinking here. Well, actually, it's just two theories that they have. Is like there's the residual hauntings, and to where, and then there's the intelligent type of hauntings. But the residual is kind of like the reoccurring, something in history that is taking place, and it's almost on replay that you're getting to see. And then the intelligent type hauntings. Now, the one thing that like I think when it comes to the residual stuff, and I hope that I've got my terminology correct here, that maybe instead of actually ghost, what we're seeing maybe like a little glimpse into another dimension of time. Because you've heard the theory that all time, the past, future, and the present all exist at the same time. So maybe that's something that we're experiencing there, like when you go to Gettysburg and one of the most haunted places in the entire world, and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and you see you see the soldiers, you see people see these things all the time, and so I've always wondered about that. In my personal experience, which about, and I'll tell on the show one day, I will. But there's times I've wondered if that was just like a type of residual type haunting. But what do you think? And between the intelligent and the residual,
I think there's many more categories they could be. I mean, there's a book that C.S. Lewis wrote called "Out of the Silent Planet," and there's these creatures called Adlytals, and you can barely see them. They barely catch. Sometimes they catch sunlight. And sometimes, the Bible says there's 4 dimensions. There's height, width, length, and depth. Height, length, width. Oh, I'm sorry. Height, length, depth, and breadth. Breadth is the 4th one. Well, what does that mean? Nobody knows. It's one of those things in the Bible that people just can't figure out. I believe they could be time travelers. If we're doing quantum physics, now that they can bend time by doing the tablecloth trick, well, what is all this stuff that seeps down when they can kind of pull the quantum stuff? I mean, that's got to go somewhere. It could be something in another dimension. It could be a creature that we don't have the perceptors to see or hear, or barely, or sometimes they may be going through one fold of reality to the other. It could be residual energy. It could be evil, demonic. It could be dead people. It could be anything. I mean, nobody knows. The only thing I like to say is that there is something out there. I know that as much as I know my daughter is in the other room listening to The Office too loud. I know that. I know that, you're sitting in Oak Ridge, Tennessee behind or in front of a They Live bust. I know that but I know this is just as much as the other. I don't think anybody knows for real. I think religious people will say they're angels and demons. I think grifters will say they're dead people to get money, but I don't know if any of us really know.
And that's the other thing about it is like the more, and when we do get any type of answer, it just creates more questions, which is the interesting thing once again about all this. I used to not be a everything is connected fan, but now I'm kind of on the thought that I think all of this is connected somehow. And I've even thrown my conscious theories at you before, and so through consciousness, I think the UFOs, the Bigfoot, ghost. That's what if this is what you want to call all these things. So, but it's interesting to me. It really is, though. It's and we've seen, me and you both have seen proof of these things that they actually exist. Now, like I said, I know you've got plenty of stories, but the latest one at the Scott County Jail. Did you care to share your experience there?
Well, I kind of did. I'll tell you the one that we're gonna show. Can I talk about the one?
I don't want to do any spoilers. I don't want to do anything that'll spoil from the show.
Okay. the Scott County Jail was, I got to say, it's Miranda Young. A lot of people know her as the Ghost Biker. I think she
Which
owns that.
By the way, Miranda's going to be on the show soon. Yeah.
Great investigation. But to be honest, I mean, it was a good one. But we normally have really insane stuff. I mean, and outside of that, well, I guess I can tell you what the girls did. But I'm actually really excited about what's going to be on the YouTube channel tomorrow night. Is what really, you're the host and I'll answer your question, but what really throws me for a loop is I've seen something that purported itself to be Spearfinger. I've seen 4 full body apparitions. I've been in a haunted cave. I've been to the most haunted dam. I've peed on a Wendigo. I mean, the list goes on. We've used a fart machine I've seen a Confederate soldier in a Confederate cemetery. All this stuff. But what blows my mind probably the most are ghost lights. And tomorrow night is about a ghost light. I still can't wrap my mind around what we saw. And there's a place called Nichols, South Carolina. If you've never heard of it, the people that live there have never heard of it themselves, because there's nothing there. It's just straight. I'm from the East Coast. I've never seen roads this long. I mean, you could see tomorrow down this road. It is just flat. It goes forever. And to see ghost lights, at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, in the middle of nowhere, where there's no human beings rolling around, blows my mind. And so tomorrow, if you check out the Wrestling with Ghosts, which is dropping at 7 Eastern time tomorrow, man, blows your mind, dude.
Let's do this real quick, Vinny. Okay, because I'll tell you what, I'd rather the viewers actually to check out the show to see what you're talking about on the ghost lights. I think that would be super cool. But because you mentioned something just a few minutes ago that I found very interesting. Now, in the beginning, like I said, you are a filmmaker. I had the honors of being in two movies with you, actually. But the WJHCAM, and there we go, Hugs. It's the greatest band in the world, folks. Hugs. Don't get confused with those other guys that wear makeup with the big red crazy tongue. But
imposters.
But you mentioned Spearfinger. Okay. Now, you also have a movie based around Spearfinger out called The Hike, available on Amazon, anywhere you want to stream movies. But let's hear about the Spearfinger incident and maybe how this happened. I'm sure before the movie.
Yes, we had
This inspired an actual paranormal event inspired you to make the movie The Hike.
Our time together as ghost hunters inspired us to start making movies, and the catalyst for all that was COVID, because Hollywood froze. And at that point, because Luke always wanted to make a movie, and I'm the editor of the group, and I was like, good God, I hate editing an hour-long ghost hunt. I can't, a whole movie, I'm going to blow my brains out. But I find when COVID happened and nobody was doing anything, I was like, okay, this is the time to do a movie. And so it was informed by an investigation of Spearfinger. Now, this kind of warms my heart in a way. Before we went out and did the investigation of Spearfinger, there was very little information online about Spearfinger. Now, if you type in Spearfinger on Google, you'll see photographs and art from our movie, and then other people dressing up like candies, a representation of Spearfinger. So it's kind of like it brought this Native American story out to the forefront. So stay with me. This is a kind of a crazy story. So we live in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which is the second most populated tourist attraction on the East Coast besides Orlando. After the Gatlinburg fires in 2016, there is a statistic like 20 people in an 18-month period got killed in the Smoky Mountains by trees. Now, trees falling killed people, 20 people in 18 months. That sounds insane. That's like serial killer stuff. We were like, it's probably because of the fires and they weakened the trees and the trees were falling over with wind, stuff like that. But still, that was the MO of a Native American legend called Spearfinger. Not only would she kill you with this giant obsidian finger, she would stab you in the liver and eat your liver. She was a shapeshifter. She could look like a grandmother. She could look like a little child that you loved. She could look like the woman you wanted to get with and get busy with. And she could manipulate nature. She would kill people by throwing rocks or throwing boulders or dropping down trees. Let's go out and do an investigation. So we go out to Bryson City, North Carolina. We go to Cherokee and talk to some of the natives. They were very guarded. This was kind of interesting too. We did have a native girl in our group, but most of us are white fellas and white ladies. And so we went out there and we were like, hey, tell us about Spearfinger. And they were like, why do you want to know? And we were kind of surprised because it's still part of their lexicon, if that makes sense. It's still part of their culture. You know, the natives, even though they have the same stuff we have and cable television and iPhones and marriage problems and all that stuff, they still, a lot of that stuff that's a part of them go back for centuries. And these stories explained this is why this happens and all this stuff. And so here we come going, tell us about Spearfinger. And after they warmed up to us, they started telling us about it because there was no information out there. And they told us, where are you going to go find her? I said, well, we're going to go down this trail called the Nolan Creek Trail. The Nolan Creek Trail somehow is the #1 haunted trail in North Carolina. I don't know if they have a coach's poll or an AP poll. I don't know how you rank haunted trails, but they say this is the most haunted one. There's, native graves and lost cities and beaver dams all over this trail. And it's at the end of a road called the Road to Nowhere, which that's a pretty wild road. And we shot a lot of the movie out there. My brother had a lot of paranormal experiences out there and he doesn't believe in anything. So we said, let's go try this place because this was that trail where she was reported in her history of gallivanting. That trail is right in the heart of it. So the natives said, if you see orange lights, go vaults. No, nobody except people in East Tennessee will know what that means. If you see orange lights, they are trying to warn you that Spearfinger is here. So 1 in the morning on a road called the Road to Nowhere, no houses, no gas stations, nothing, no strip mines for at least 8 or 10, 12 miles in any direction. The closest city we're close to is an abandoned town that was flooded out called Proctor, but it's gone now except for some buildings and some rusted out cars. We get on the Nolan Creek Trail. We're setting up the camera equipment. Lo and behold, we see orange lights. And this is in wintertime. This is not in the summer. So these aren't weird bugs we don't know nothing about because we're not entomologists. And we all see them, and we captured one of them on camera. And you can see us in this episode when we air it this year on my YouTube channel. You can see us all go like, we're seeing these orange lights. We're like, whoa. So here we go, off. We take off, Danny, into the great darkness of Nolan Creek Trail at 1 or 2 in the morning, whatever it was. The entire time we're walking, we are hearing screaming, women screaming, men talking, voices of peril. And they're coming from the water source, which is, I guess, Nolan Creek. And so you're sitting there going, okay, am I listening to water? Because water sometimes sounds like human voice, but we're all going, good grief, that sounds like a scream. Good grief, that sounds like a woman speaking in some sort of language. And we're kind of getting all the heebie-jeebies, and we're like, oh, my God. And it just keeps going. And it seemed like every 10, 15 feet, you'd hear somebody, and we're just like, what in the world? Well, we know as paranormal people, a lot of people say that water gives energy to voices. Well, As a skeptic, you can kind of sit there and go, yeah, because human voice sounds like water sometimes. So here we go. Which one is it? Well, I told you before that Spearfinger is a mimic. And this is on the show. This is captured. We're walking. All of a sudden, I'm in the back with the camera. Luke is in the front. Again, folks, Luke is my 7-foot-tall tag team partner from Chicago. He looks like the Abominable Snowman. Danny's got a little bit of a crush on him. And so I hear behind me, hey, guys, big guy, big, deep voice. Sounds just like Luke. Did you guys hear that? Yeah. I said, that was Luke. Luke's up there. We were riding the tape. Luke's like, holy crap, that's my voice. Okay, that's a little weird. We keep walking a little bit further. A rock shoots out of the forest, almost hits my daughter in the head. She heard it whiz by her head and hits the tree across the trail. It shoots perpendicular across the trail. Rolls down. Now, Luke is an amateur gemologist. He picks it up, and I can't remember, and I'm sorry because it's been years, about 3 or 4 years ago. And he says, this is some sort of blah, blah, blah quartz, and it has no business being in the Smoky Mountains. This is not indigenous to this area. This is an odd rock to be here. We keep going. We go over a bridge, more screaming, more native language or something. We're like, what in the world? We get to a beaver dam. Now, at this point, it is like 2. I keep screwing up the time, but it's early in the morning. There are no campers. It's wintertime. It's cold. No campers, nothing around, no cities, no neighborhoods, no projects, no hoods, no gas stations, no malls. We are in the forest, man. We are in God's country. And so we get to a beaver dam, and I'm like, look, we're all a bunch of klutzes, and most of us are pro wrestlers that have blown out our knees. We don't need to go gallivanting across a beaver dam. Let's turn around and go back. Right then, my daughter, at least 10 or 12 monarch butterflies fly and land on her legs and the ground surrounding her in a circle.
Wow. That is crazy.
What in the world is this? It's like a damn thing out of Disney. And I'm not an entomologist, like I said before, but I know monarch butterflies are nocturnal, I think, or whatever the term is for. Say what?
This is 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. I don't know if I got that. I screwed that word up, but they're not nocturnal, whatever the whatever the converse of that is. Not nocturnal. And so we're sitting there, and she's kind of like, what's happening? This is like something out of a pixie dream. And she brushes her legs off, and then we go. And Danny, hand on the Bible. When we walk across the path, the trail, back to our vehicle, the trail or the creek is still raging like it always do. The energy had lifted. And we didn't hear one scream, one crazy voice, one knuckleheaded somebody saying something in the bushes, all the way back to the car. We were 5 or 6 friends walking on a midnight hike together at that point. The ghost investigation, when the monarch butterflies hit her legs, done. So that was pretty interesting. And we have some more stuff that happened on that investigation, but we were like, nobody's talking about Spearfinger. Why don't we make a movie where she's the heavy? And she was a good heavy. And like he said, if you want to watch the hike, it's on Tubi and Plex. There is a version on Amazon, which is not the finished version. I've been trying to take that one off for years, so don't watch that one. But watch the one on Tubi. It's free, and it's our first movie. And if you want to see anything about Spearfinger, and now what's cool is now there's Spearfinger information after we did that investigation. But moreover, I think the movie has generated a lot of people interested in that legend of the Smoky Mountains. And so now we have decided, after we did the hike and we were like, man, that was fun. And we did a good job making that movie. We decided to make Legends and Lore about all of the, well, not all, but a lot of different creatures and stuff, and lore of the Smoky Mountains and make different types of movies as well. You know, like the first one is kind of like a paranormal whodunit, a rom-com in the woods. The second one is like Clerks and Dogma. The third one is like I Am Legend meets Friday the 13th. So we try to do the next one we're doing is kind of like Space Odyssey 2001 meets The Office meets something else that's crazy, American Movie, if you've ever seen that. So anyway, so we're trying to do different movies, but our experiences are informing a lot of these things that we're doing.
Well, the crazy thing about that is, I mean, so what was after that experience, after the butterflies happened, because that's just mind blowing to me, especially at the time it happened, with everything happening all at once, what you guys are experiencing. What was that walk back like?
At some point, we realized if it's gone, we're just buddies in the woods holding hands. I mean, we're just singing la 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 or whatever. We're like whistle as you work.
No fear, you weren't freaked out. It was more kind of like out of a peace kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't get freaked out over spiritual stuff. That's probably why I'm really good at this. There's nothing. Bats coming at my face, I do freak out over that. Heights, yes, I don't like heights. So if a bat was chasing me on a ladder, I would probably pee my pants. But everything's spiritual. I'm cool with that. Most of us are that way.
So it was so it was more of a spiritual thing, more than a boo jumping out of the bush kind of thing.
I feel the energy. I feel and that was lifted. And I think that's what makes us a good 4-man team, is we're all similar that way. None of us are like, oh my God, because we've had scary stuff happen to us. We've ran into a poltergeist on one investigation, but it was all like, wow, it feels a lot lighter. It's kind of like you have Thanksgiving dinner and you have the uncle that comes over and spouts his evil nonsense. And then when he leaves, everybody's like, oh, now we can just eat and talk about sports and how everybody's doing. We're not having to talk about crazy stuff that's uncomfortable. So, I mean, it's that kind of relief. Relief's a good word. It was a relief at that point.
So do you think maybe, like you've heard now, some people believe that everything happens for a reason. Maybe there's no such thing as free will. Do you think maybe this was something that was like, hey, go write that movie now, Vinny?
No, I don't know. It was, it could be. It was like a bunch of dominoes at that point. I mean, there was, that investigation, if you would have came to me and said, you've got 4 movies that are streaming all over the world and you're writing a 5th one, I would have been like, huh? Like it was just out of nowhere. It was just like, I never would have thought that would have happened. But that's the good thing about my life.
At all, that one of the butterflies had red hair and was doing magic tricks that night. Nothing. Mm-mm. You're going to cast them anyways. You're going to cast a magician in one of your movies. Well, you mentioned Poltergeist, and I want to touch on this real quick. You see a lot of these paranormal videos, and these are the ones that I'm the biggest skeptic on, is whenever they show, the cabinet doors flying open or something flying across the room. Because as a professional magician, that's the easiest thing to fake on camera. For me, I can make it look like doors are flying open and things are flying across the room. And I can perfectly conveniently place the camera in a perfect spot to capture it all. So, but you said you had a poltergeist experience. But what happened there?
Wow, that's probably our juiciest episode is what happened. This was crazy. We were doing I say this all the time. Sometimes I have to figure out how to start the story. If my show, Wrestling with Ghosts, was world famous, which it's not.
It sort of is.
It's on Wikipedia, which I'm surprised at. But anyway, if we were more famous, La Follette, Tennessee would be full of ghost hunters. I think it is the most haunted spot by far I've ever seen. And when I've gone on these things, and you got to understand, again, people either groan when they meet us or they love us. Either one, we're either hated or we're either reviled or we're loved. And it's because we aren't paranormal human beings. Like, I don't wake up in the morning reading ghost books, and I don't investigate.
All black?
Say what?
You don't dress in all black?
I don't. I have other colors. I now that I'm chubbier, I do wear more black than I ever have. But I used to be.
I'm wearing a lot of black these days.
Yeah, it's very good what it does to your love handles. But anyway, so these guys will say, well, La Follette is on 3 ley lines, and I'm like, ley lines. And then I start thinking about hookers and cocaine, and I'm like, what's a lay? What is she doing for the cocaine? But anyway, they explained to me what these lane lines are. But La Follette's in the middle of 3 of them, and so there was an old post office in La Follette, and there is so much weird stuff going on in so many different places in this little town. That's kind of an ugly little nothing town in Tennessee. Weirdly enough, we shot the movie with you in La Follette at WLAF during COVID when nobody knew. We went in the night and shot illegally. But anyway, say what?
I said, that's nice to know.
Hey, to make an independent movie is to commit a crime. One of my favorite quotes. But so when we had permission to go into the old La Follette post office, and we had a lot of people in there. We weren't even filming an episode. We were doing a lot of stuff with our cell phones, and we were doing Facebook Lives, and we were trying to garner interest to get picked up on the not Discovery Channel, Destination America. We had won a competition saying we are the most hip, new paranormal team, and we were going to get a contract. And then right then Destination America changed their format, and we were left out in the cold. That was one of many times we have signed talent holding agreements and all this stuff. Several times we've done that.
So this was right before, because I am familiar with the Destination America situation. So this was right around that time before things were about to happen with America.
Yeah, 2016-ish into 2007 is the winter of 2016.
I tell you what, well, let's do this, because before we get into the actual story about the poltergeist, we are going to have to take a quick little break right here in a second. We got to get some commercials, some plugs to our sponsors. But I think you had no poltergeist experience prior to this. This is your first poltergeist experience, correct?
Probably everybody involved, it was the first one.
Okay. Everybody involved, the very first one. I want you to hold on to this story, Vinny, because I want to hear it. Because, like I said, I'm a big skeptic when it comes to poltergeist. But coming from you, brother, I know it's going to be gospel. I tell you what, guys, we'll be right back right after these messages. Hang tight for the poltergeist story with Vinnie Vineyard.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
All right, guys, we are back here with our guest tonight, Vinnie Vineyard, from the Paranormal TV investigation show, Wrestling with Ghosts. Now, let's do this. We were talking about the poltergeist experience at the radio station. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, it was at the post office. So what we did is we were trying to garner attention to get a deal with Destination America, which nowadays I wouldn't want to get a contract with any of the TV stations because they want you to fake evidence. That is the truth. And I hate breaking everybody's heart, but if you try to get a deal with anybody on TV, the producers will say, you're going to have to spice this up. And we're like, and what's crazy is we're comedians, we're pro wrestlers, we're entertainers. And we're like, dude, we're not faking evidence. We don't need to fake evidence. And so that's where one of the biggest problems came. Well, this night, nobody had to fake nothing. So we were doing these Facebook Lives. And if you ever watch the episode, it does look like poop because it's Facebook cameras. But what happened was so amazing. It's just like, what? So we did a thing, and I can't remember if it was like, if you bring a can of Alpo, or you pay $25, we're going to take all that money and give it to like homeless golden retrievers or something. And so it was a nice little, I don't know. It was like a nice community thing. About 20 people showed up, maybe 25. And we talked to everybody and, we're going to have a good time. And it was in this old post office. Now, it's a 3-level post office. It used to be a bar, and somebody killed somebody over a fish sandwich or something like that. So there's that story. But you have to understand, this was an old post office where they used to send money through the mail, right? So there was like a lot of valuable stuff. So this was back in the day when there was like the stagecoach type post office. And there was a little exit or an entrance where the postal inspector could come in on the ground floor, jimmy up a ladder, and then go into the top level where there were these black matte walls with little slits, and they can look down and spy on the employees, make sure people aren't going, okay, there's about 50 of their gold coins. I'm going to put about 3 or 4 in my pocket. And so that, again, if we're going to lean into this, that could give the spirit of like paranoia, being watched. So there's this kind of weird energy there anyway that's still kind of in this building. So we get in there, and I'll tell you, as soon as we start our investigation, nobody was left after 30 minutes. Everybody took off because it was insane what was happening in that place. Slamming the walls, knocking stuff over. Again, you say you're a magician, so you don't respect like when somebody opens the door, but when most people aren't magicians. And so when you're holding a free moving camera and Luke walks in and you hear the freaking locker slam in the downtown basement part, and Luke, again, 7 foot tall, running at me like, freaking LT. And I'm like, gee, Jiminy Christmas, I'm going to pee my pants. Right then, you hear a voice. And as we move out towards the bigger area of the basement, we look out of the window. Now, this is where you're seeing real stuff for real. So there was a door with a glass window, and we're looking out, and some, you know how buildings change over time, like, this was the first floor, but now it's kind of like a mid floor, and how the construction of buildings change over time. You could go out, and we saw a pair of legs walking in space past the door, and we captured that on camera. Just doot, like 3 feet off the ground. But we didn't see any body or nothing like that. It was just the legs. And it was just the craziest thing right after the door slammed. So there was this girl that we had with us who, El Gordo Gringo, our chubby little wrestler friend that's on the team too, Travis Graves, who's a hell of a nice guy. He was dating this girl named Beth. And it seemed to, whatever was there that night seemed to go after her. And we have always suspected she might have been up to something, because everything that happened off camera. Door slammed behind her. She got locked in a staircase, or excuse me, a ladder. There was like ladder chutes, and she got stuck and screamed. Furniture would fall over around her, and she would act scared. And we were like, is she hamming this up for the camera, or what's happening? Well, we kept going with it, and we kept side-eyeing her, but also maybe something was happening. Orange Crush pop bottle was thrown. Nobody was over there. It was thrown over this curtain rod and all this stuff. You could sit there and say, this is a big place, and people could be hiding in these places, making boom, 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 and throwing pop bottles and all that stuff. Now, the part that freaks me out and freaks us all out is there was one point where there was only 2 people in the building, me and Luke, and we're climbing up these ladders to get to the 3rd floor. And when we got up somewhere, we heard what sounded like a sledgehammer on a garage door. And he's a cop. He's an ex-cop, and he went into a hyperventilation fit because there was nothing there. There is no garage door. There's no door. There's nothing. It was this weird. It just happened right next to us, and nobody was in there. So when they was picking on the girl, I said, hey, whatever spirit is here, leave the girls alone. Why don't you pick on somebody big like Luke? And at that point, it started going after Luke. We have heard on the recording, Luke whispered 4 times, 3 times in one spot. They're walking into the big main part, and you hear this, Luke said my name. Luke, is that you? And I'm out in the car. They had an all-night hamburger stand, and my portion was done for the night. So I'm in the car eating a cheeseburger from the all-night. And they're like, is that Vinnie? Is Vinnie in here? Luke. The 3rd time at that session that it said Luke, he said, I'm getting the hell out of here. And he just ran the heck out.
Let me ask you this, Vinnie. You know, Ryan Stacy has got a question here that makes a pretty interesting question. He says, is it possible that poltergeists are just psychic activity from the people involved who don't know that? So do you think maybe, you know, instead of it being an overactive spirit that likes to play catch, that maybe it's something that's happening, you know, with the mind and consciousness?
It could be. I would push back a little bit, saying that we've never, in all of our investigations, we never ran into anything like that with that core group that we had back in 2016, 2017. And the other thing I would push back on is that place, every time we've been there, I think 3 times, every time we were there, it was insane what was happening. We actually had, I told you Luke was an amateur gemologist, and we set up like a homemade Ouija board with a bottle, and it would slightly move to answer questions. There were some things I know was fake. Like there was a chalkboard that had our initials on it when we were done, and it looked like it was written by somebody with disabilities, left hand or something. And it was like, okay, I don't believe that chalk moved and wrote VLT. You know, I don't believe that. Somebody was screwing around. So that's kind of what put a lot of that stuff into, like, some of this stuff probably was somebody goofing with us. The thing, though, is we were, like I said, we were taking pictures. We were trying to get on Destination America at the time, and we were posing, and there was a photographer on a ladder, and he was taking our pictures, trying to make something look sexy. And about 20 feet off the ground, I heard, bam, 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 or we all heard it. And we all just turned around and said, enough. I mean, we'd been investigating for like 4 hours at that point. We're like, we got it. You're angry. We're here. You're loud. But that was where nobody was. And it sounded like the garage door thing that we heard earlier in the night when we were climbing the ladders. But as far as the psychic energy and the poltergeist stuff, man, I'm not smart enough or experienced enough to answer that intelligently. All I can say is that that whatever it was, that place continually had insane stuff going on like that.
Well, the fact that you saw, this is the thing that intrigued me the most out of the whole damn story. Like I said, I'm never impressed with the poltergeist videos that you see on television or on these paranormal TV shows. I'm never impressed with that. Like I said, because to me, even let's say it really did happen to him, great, okay, but I could fake that easy, so it's hard for me to take that as gospel whenever I know that I could duplicate that super easy. And in my opinion, I think, you know, making something fly across the room is one of the easiest things to fake for a paranormal video. But hold on, let me say this too. I want to blast this video. I don't even know, but I don't know this family. I know they live in Tennessee, not far from me, actually.